Morning and welcome again. We are carrying on with our deep dive into different kinds of electronics components. Today's component is switches. We've all used it before, you know what it does. A switch is a device that turns things on or off. It's as simple as that. But there's a really huge range, variety and type of switches. And it's good to know some of them and at least to be able to identify what their functions are or how they work so that you get a better understanding of the underlying principles. So here's a couple. You can see some of them on the screen as well. But let me show you. This little green thing with the knob sticking out, the red knob, is what's known as a toggle switch because you can toggle the lever between one position and the other position. You also get toggle switches that have three positions. You can keep it in the center position or in the two extreme positions. So toggle switches are generally just basically on-off switches. But you can see this one has lots of pins on it. So there are 6 pins over here. And the way this works is the center 2 pins are two other common pins, but they are not connected to each other. Think of this toggle switch as actually two switches in one enclosure. Right? So if you divide it in half, this side is one switch and this side is the other switch. And then when you toggle the lever at the top, the top pin and the center pin, they are connected to each other. Sometimes that logic is reversed, so it's always good sense to actually toggle it and use a multimeter to check which pins are being shorted. And then if you toggle it in the other direction, the center pin and the other pin gets shorted. So that's an on or that's an off, or you can toggle between two elements in a circuit, for example. And then if you flip it over, you have the same effect on the other side. So technically 2 switches that are being operated at the same time simultaneously. And these have what are known as changeover contacts. So your center is common and you have one contact at the top, the other contact at the bottom. And then you can also have these in what are known as, so these are double throw switches because they have 2 poles or 2 different switches in one. You can have a single pole switch with double throw, meaning it will have a center, it will have 3 terminals, a center and top and bottom. That's a single pole switch. And the difference between double throw and single throw is in a single throw switch, you'll have just 2 pins, which is either on and off. In a double throw, you'll have on both sides, and there's no off literally in that sense. You just turn it in the other direction, and the center and the top go off, for example. So that's, I mean, again, there are many different kinds of these toggle switches that you can get, but this is just a quick rundown of them. Again, these are meant for mounting on a panel or something like that, which is why you have this little mounting bush and a nut over here. This one that I'm holding in my hand now is what's known as a rocker switch because it rocks between the on position and the off position. And you'll find this quite often in many electronic instruments where it is used to turn on or off the device. These are usually used for selecting functions. So you have one function and a second function, and you do that using toggle switches. But a rocker switch is most likely used for turning on and off power, most primarily in high voltage devices, appliances that connect to your electrical supply at 230 volts, for example. So if you notice your hot glue gun from your design kit, you will notice that it has a switch that is kind of similar to this, probably a bit smaller than this. And again, these kind of rocker switches come in the same kind of configurations that you get with these toggle switches. So this one is a single pole, single throw. So it has just 2 terminals. But if this were a single pole 2 throw or double throw, it would have 3 pins. And then if it was a double pole single throw, it would have 4 pins. And if you had double pole double throw, you would have 6 pins, just like this one. So that's a mouthful, but don't worry about it. as you start using them, you can search for more information online and learn about these kind of things. Here's the third kind of switch. This one is what's known as a slide switch because the knob slides from one position to the other. This one has just two positions again, and functionally similar to the toggle switch, except you can see that it has, since it has 3 pins, it is a single pole, but it has 2 throws, so on one side and on the other side as well. It just shorts the center and the bottom pin or the center and the top pin. And it also has additional pins which are connected to the metal body, because when you insert it on a circuit board, it provides the mechanical strength so that it doesn't break and fall off. So once again, slide switches come in all kinds of forms and shapes and sizes and electrical configurations. You can have multiple levels of slide switches, so maybe 3 positions, 4 positions and so on. You can have multiple poles in it, 1 pole, 2 pole, 3 pole and so on. So big range and variety of this. Here's a circuit board that where I'm using a similar slide switch. You can notice this over here. This one is what's known as a right angle slide switch, because while the pins go vertically, the knob is at a right angle to the pins. So you slide it from the side like so. Then we have a bunch of what are known as push button switches. I'm sure you've seen these in a lot of appliances. So these are basically just on off, but they are momentary, meaning when you press it's on, when you release it goes off. So these are momentary push buttons. This one is the same, different size. This is 12 mm. This is the same, but different size. This is 6 mm with a different kind of knob. You can push it. And again, let me show you the circuit again, where you'll notice that I have 2 of these switches, but they have taller buttons. So you can get buttons in different colors, different lengths, different shapes. And you'll notice that this pin, let me use the bigger one, this switch has 4 terminals or 4 pins. Now, that doesn't mean anything extra besides the fact that internally the 2 pins are connected to each other. So this is actually just 1 pin technically, and then on the other side these 2 are also connected to each other internally inside the switch. So that's the other terminal. And you will see that this one has exactly that. It has just 2 pins. Now the reason for having 4 pins is better mechanical stability. It's easier to mount it on a circuit board, and it's more robust. So that's the only way. And also it's makes the production process a little bit easier because of the way it's constructed. So we have a bunch of switches here. The first one is written as a detector switch, but these are used often called as limit switches, which again come in all kinds of shapes and forms. This is just one of them. And sometimes you'll find limit switches in a lot of the, let's say, 3D printers used to have them back in the day. Nowadays they use electronic sensors like Hall effect and so on, magnetic sensors. But the older 3D printers had limit switches where when the head goes and touches one end, it depresses the switch and it knows that it has now reached the home position. The slide switch, like I showed you, this is another one. This is a push button switch again with a different kind of button, a square one on which you can attach a knob, for example. Rotary switch, so you can click and rotate in different positions. This is the one you commonly find in most modern fan regulators, for example, where you have different speed levels. Power switches, we've shown, looked at one, this is another one. And these are kind of pretty amazing, the dual inline package type switch. These are known as DIP switches, DIP. And this particular photo you see is actually 4 DIP switches in one package that is exactly the same size and shape as a regular integrated circuit. So you can take this and install it on a circuit board, and you have these 4 switches, and you can use them to do various things. For example, you can use it to set the address of an I2C bus, for example, of a device. or you can select certain functions as being on and off on the circuit board, and so on. So these are really interesting. You get them in all the way from 2-pole up to probably 8, 16-pole at least is what I've seen. But usually 4-pole and 8-pole are the most common ones. So yeah, that's a lot about switches in a very short time. It's a big topic, lots and lots of different kinds, types, shapes, and varieties. And the idea is to give you a brief introduction to all of those different types and varieties. So keep switching.